If you're looking to activate that wildcard ahead of the quarterfinals in Euro Fantasy, don't worry, I've got you covered with the ultimate guide in today's video. Now, before we dive into today's video, I just want to say a massive thank you to you guys for helping the channel hit 5,000 subscribers. It seems like it's been coming for a while, but we finally managed to hit that milestone. So thank you very much for your continued support on the channel. We are now, of course, on that road to 10,000 subscribers. So if you do enjoy any of the content you see, or maybe you're new around here, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Right, let's start off first of all taking a look at some data from Rob T FPL. If you've been watching any of my Euros content, you know this guy has been very much a go-to. As always, a link to his amazing work is down in the description. And I thought, you know, when we're building this wildcard, we need to be looking at potentially what teams to kind of load up on and what ones we probably should be a little bit more kind of precautious around. As you can see, the left-hand side is a little bit more harder to predict which two teams are obviously going to progress to the next round of the competition. Spain and Germany, it's very, very tight. 53% win for Spain, 47 for Germany. I think with them having the advantage of being hosts as well, I think that might marginally improve that as well. It's a difficult game, probably the two best attacking teams we've seen so far in the tournament as well. So hopefully should be a very good spectacle, but obviously it's going to be quite hard to predict which players and which teams to kind of back from a Euro fantasy perspective. Same with France, Portugal. Again, I would probably feel that France, they've kind of been there, done it. They know how to get to tournament, like later stages of tournaments, semi-finals, finals. So I do feel they do have that slight edge, and the data also is suggesting that one as well. So probably, I think for me personally, maybe like a 2-2 split between France and Portugal, because again, I don't really know how to call that one. Both teams have been a little bit uninspiring in front of goal as well. So probably a 2-2 split for players for me personally on a wild card for that one. Moving on to the other side of the draw, I feel you have two teams that are kind of heavily backed to do quite well. Obviously, Turkey, the kind of underdogs that have made it so far in the tournament, they're going up a Netherlands side who looked very good against Romania today. Obviously, weren't impressive in the group stages, but from an attacking standpoint, they looked marvellous today, especially Cody Gakpo, one of their standout players and definitely a player who will be mentioned in today's video. Then you've also got England down the bottom. Again, England have been quite uninspiring this tournament, but seem to just be doing what's necessary, which is winning and progressing throughout the tournament. I expect Switzerland, you know, they've put in some very impressive performances against Italy and against Germany in the last group stage game as well. So I do feel it could be a little bit of a harder test, but the data, it's got a rod on for England, and it has throughout this entire tournament. Opta do have England as well as the favourites to make the final as well. So I think definitely having 3 to 4 England players is an absolute must in my personal opinion if you are going to be going down that kind of data route as well. Moving on to some other data, we do have the stuff from Elvenify. Again, all the link to their amazing work will be down in the description. This one is taking a look at clean sheet percentages, goal probabilities, wins, draws. This is a more kind of holistic view of absolutely everything. As you can see, the Spain-Germany game, they don't also know how to predict it. They've got a slight marginal edge for Spain in terms of goals, clean sheet, and a win. But to be honest, it's very, very marginal. So I don't think it's kind of worth maybe loading up on both sides. I think 2 to 3 from each side, probably looking more at attackers as well with those low percentage of clean sheets. Same with the France-Portugal game, probably a little bit of a wider margin for France in terms of goals, clean sheets, and expected for the win as well. So probably worth edging a little bit more probably towards France than the Portugal assets as well. And with Portugal struggling against Slovakia, I definitely think it would be in kind of your best interest maybe to back France a little bit more in this fixture rather than going for Portugal. Moving on to the England-Switzerland game, as you can see, they are one of the highest teams for predicted goals in the quarterfinals round. Also have the second best chance of a clean sheet, and with England's kind of defensive stats throughout this entire tournament, their XG conceded has been pretty excellent. A strong probability of winning. I definitely think from a defensive side, it is worth considering, but they do have some attackers as well that we will come on to talk about when we start going through the team itself. And then finally, you do have Netherlands versus Turkey. They are expected to score the most goals across this quarterfinal because they are playing, you know, the weakest side left available as well. Strong probability of a clean sheet and strong probability of picking up a win as well. So maybe looking at that triple, even quadruple Netherlands as well, with them obviously facing one of England or Switzerland in the semi-finals. Definitely a game where you feel they could win, and it could be a very, very tight and interesting game. If you want to go and take a look at this data for yourself, obviously head over to Elvenify or go and check out Rob T FPL. Again, a link to all their amazing work will be in the description, but let's go and take a look at this wildcard team. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the team that we are going to be talking through. Let's start off with the goalkeepers. Of course, that's the best place to go for. We've gone for Pickford and we've gone for Costa. Now, I think the important thing here, obviously kind of harping back to the last segment, you know, Netherlands and England were the two best defences. So you'd argue, you know, why don't you go for both of these? Well, they play on the same day. So you've got to go for Pickford and Costa to kind of balance it out a little bit. So yeah, that's what we're doing with this one. We've got Pickford and we've got Costa as our other goalkeepers. Both play on alternative days as well. And as you can see with players coming up, yeah, I think you know, it all makes sense when you kind of see the defence a little bit further up. But England, from a defensive standpoint, I definitely want at least one England defender in there. And with Mark Gahey being suspended, he's the go-to guy for ball recoveries and picking up just like random man of the match and random assists as well, which he did in the last game. With him being suspended, I'm a little bit more sceptical about the other picks. I do have another England defender in here, as we'll come on to see, but Jordan Pickford for me is the absolute go-to, easy way into that England defence. Costa as well. Obviously, he had the heroics, if you like, in the last round in the penalty knockout for Portugal. Also made a fantastic save in extra time as well. And I feel if anyone's going to deny France in that back line, it probably is going to be Costa. I think Pepe as well, if you want to look for a route into that kind of Portugal defence. Both very, very good options. But with the other game on that side being very, very split as well, I think it probably was worth, you know, maybe looking at other alternative players to kind of use up their spots and use Costa as our goalkeeper pick. But I imagine Jordan Pickford probably will be the one that does end up in net with a stronger probability of a clean sheet. Moving on into the back line, let's take a look at this. We're going to start off with Theo Hernandez. I think obviously Koundé's a great shout, Saliba's a great shout, and Upamecano, all absolutely fantastic shouts. And the way the game is going with ball recoveries as well, all these players could be very, very decent. But I do expect France to kind of dominate the ball a little bit more, maybe getting down that, obviously he plays on the left, so obviously getting into their right hand side, which is where Cancelo will be playing. And he's been a little bit of a liability. If you watch some of the games, he does leave a lot of space. You feel Mbappe and Hernandez on that left-hand side could have a little bit of a field day against him, to be honest. So that could be an area that France obviously do go and exploit. And that is kind of my thought process at the moment. Attack that left-hand side. That seems to be where the gaps appear when teams attack Portugal. And Cancelo defensively, we've known it for a couple of years now. He is not the best. That is not his best kind of assets. And if he's pushing forward, being quite aggressive, the way that he likes to play, I definitely feel Hernandez and Mbappe, one of the players that also may feature in this side, as you'll come on to see, could be very, very kind of fruitful down that left-hand side as well. Theo Hernandez has had some of the best XG kind of created amongst defenders and in terms of assists as well. So definitely a very, very good pick in my personal opinion. But if you wanted to look for kind of the more ball recoveries, the safe route, which, you know, is picking up a lot of points at the moment, Saliba, Upamecano, Jules Koundé are all better for ball recoveries than Theo Hernandez. Moving on to our next defender, it is going to be Denzel Dumfries. As you can see, we've got that double Dutch defence, with them having the highest probability of a clean sheet this week and backing the Dutch to do quite well. They didn't look overly kind of worried with Romania today. Obviously, Dumfries was getting into a lot of attacking positions as well. Could have easily very much had an assist, obviously, if it wasn't for some heroic Romanian defending at the back. So I definitely think if he's allowed to kind of bomb forward like he did today, he could be an absolute goldmine, picking up some attacking returns as well. So very, very big fan of him. Van Dijk as well also fits into that category. I think he looked absolutely exceptional today. Was not overly kind of proficient, if you like, in terms of ball recoveries, but from set pieces, he was massive threat. Hit the post as well. Very, very unfortunate for his owners. They could have come away with a mega haul, in my personal opinion. The amount of corners and the amount of quality of corners and free kicks that the Dutch were taking today as well, I do feel it could be a matter of time before Virgil van Dijk does manage to latch onto one of these as well. And you do feel with obviously the kind of talk pre-tournament about him being on penalties. Obviously, Depay, I don't feel is going to be one of those players, if a game goes to extra time, is going to, remain on the pitch. Whereas I feel Van Dijk, he's going to be there 120 minutes all the way to pens. So if they get a penalty maybe in extra time or to the latter stages of the game, he, could nab it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying he's definitely going to take it, but it's a nice kind of thought that could happen as well, and gives him that little bit of a kind of added incentive, maybe, if you're looking at picking him up. The other two defenders, we've got Marc Cucurella. Again, I really don't know how to call that Germany-Spain one as well, especially from kind of a defensive standpoint. I think you either go for Cucurella or Rudiger, in my personal opinion, if you're looking to target any defender in that game, because both of them are absolute monsters at ball recoveries, and that is kind of the only thing I'm really hoping on. As you could see with the last section, Elvenify's data really doesn't expect a clean sheet in that game, so I think you're probably targeting ball recoveries more in that one for me. So Cucurella is going to be the man we're going to go for, but I also think Rudiger as well, for those ball recoveries, could be a little bit of a gem. Moving on to our final defender, like I said, I do want a nice way into that England double up of defence. They've got the second best clean sheet odds for the quarterfinals, and Kyle Walker, it seems like he's the #1 right back for England. He is Gareth Southgate's man. Obviously, there might be a switch in potential systems for England. There's been rumours, there's been talks of a potential 5-back, and if Trent Alexander-Arnold is playing at wing-back, maybe if we get a few reports before the deadline, I think he could be a decent pickup. But for now, Kyle Walker, John Stones are probably go-tos if you're looking for other England defenders as well. Right, let's move on into our midfield. We're going to start off with one of the tournament's top scorers. It is Musiala. I feel he's probably got to be in most teams as well. It seems like when players get into these kind of purple patches at these kind of short form tournaments, they just continue to score, continue to do extremely well, and Musiala is absolutely cooking. So we're going to have him in this side as well. I feel that one's very easy to explain. Same with Williams as well. He looked absolutely fantastic against Georgia. Looked really good in the group stages. Very unfortunate not to come away with an assist, and I do feel he has got a huge advantage over Yamal, who plays on that right-hand side. I think both of them look immense, and I would love to get both of them in, but the quality of forwards we've got in the game, I just think Williams being the midfielder just gives him that slight edge over Yamal. He gets extra points for doing the basics. He also gets that clean sheet point as well if Spain do manage to keep a clean sheet. So for that extra 0.5 million, I definitely think he is a quality pickup in that midfield area for me personally. Moving on to our next midfielder, it is going to be İlkay Gündoğan. Now, obviously, the kind of PR machine for Gündoğan is kind of slowed down a little bit. It looks like he's not going to be taking penalties, which is disappointing. Looking at some of the other midfielders in the game as well, maybe Jude Bellingham's probably your best bet here if you were looking for kind of another England player. But for me personally, England have been pretty dodgy going forward, so we're going to go for Gündoğan in my opinion. Obviously, his minutes are a little bit of a concern, but maybe, they thought that, just save him for the latter stages of the tournament, because prior to that, in the group stage, he had some of the best underlying data amongst all midfielders as well. So if he can kind of regain that again, I think he could be a very decent shout. Moving on to our next midfielder, it is going to be Bruno Fernandes. Again, I would like a Portugal player, and I don't really want Cristiano Ronaldo, despite him having multiple shots, despite him having pretty good data. We are going to go for Bruno Fernandes just to kind of cover that Portugal route off. Obviously, we're not going too heavy on them, because like I said, I do favour France to go and win that fixture. Same with the data as well. That seems to also be favouring a France win. So we're going to have Bruno Fernandes just to potentially cover off that Portugal route if they do manage to progress. And then our final midfielder is Fabian Ruiz. He's having an amazing Euros. Four attacking returns. I nearly said 4 assists. 4 attacking returns for him. Very unfortunate not to have come away with the man of the match in the Georgia game as well. And for 6.5 million, he just feels like an absolute bargain. And I do feel there's going to be goals in that Germany-Spain game. Both of the attacks have looked very fruitful across the whole course of this tournament. The defences probably a little bit more shaky, and probably areas I wouldn't be looking to attack, especially with the poor data as well we've saw, but the goals are predicted to happen in those games. Right, let's finish up. Let's take a look at our forwards. We've got Kylian Mbappe in here. I obviously spoke about it with Hernandez. I feel that left-hand side for France could be a very valuable asset, with João Cancelo being at right back, in my personal opinion. Mbappe probably been a little bit unfortunate at this tournament, has had France in front of goal as well. They've got the highest XG amongst all teams across the tournament. but they've yet to failed to score, from open play. So probably a little bit unfortunate. It does feel like it is probably a matter of time before they do score one of those goals. And I feel like if you're going to have anybody, Kylian Mbappe, with that Cancelo kind of thing I've been talking about as well, does feel like they're probably the man to go for. We've got Harry Kane in here. Obviously, he's been a little bit sluggish for England, but he's managing just to keep scoring. That's kind of the way that he's playing at the moment. He's not playing well, but I feel if there's a switch in system and when two up top, when Tony dropped up top with England, they looked a lot more dangerous, and potentially that could be the situation again. Obviously, he's on penalties. Obviously, he's a pretty good, reliable asset as well in terms of just, we've seen it in the Premier League. We've seen it in the Bundesliga. He knows how to find the back of the net when he gets the opportunities. And with England having a high kind of chance of scoring goals and high chance of progressing to the next round, I definitely think he's the forward to go for. And then finally, we do have Cody Gakpo, not Kakpo. Cody Gakpo, he's going to finish up our attacking line. Obviously, he's been absolutely immense. I had him in my team today. I thought he looked sensational against Romania. Obviously, his attacking data hasn't been the best across the whole tournament, but he just seems like one of those players who's in his purple patch and is just cooking. Obviously, they've got a very, very nice fixture that, from an attacking standpoint, definitely one that, we should be looking at as well. I think Xavi Simons is potentially a decent shout as well in midfield, but I think there's probably slightly better midfield options, so I think Cody Gakpo takes it. I also think he takes it over Memphis Depay. I know he's on a lot of free kicks, corners, penalties, all that, but Gakpo is just in form. He's absolutely slapping and cooking at the moment. This is my wildcard team. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. If you've got any questions about your team as well, get them in the comments, as we will try to answer as many as we possibly can. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in Matchday 5.